Thank you for taking a few minutes. Now let's bring in the Democratic candidate in North Carolina's 9th Congressional District, Dan McCready, of course, officially trailing this race by 905 votes. Dan, thank you for joining us. Well, let me ask you, the State Board of Elections has set a deadline of December 21st to collect evidence, to hold hearings, to try to decide if it can forward and certify this election or if it will take another course of action. From your standpoint, is there anything that the Board of Elections could learn, could ascertain over the over these next 2 weeks that would allow you to sit back and say, okay, I'm satisfied, I lost this election?
Well, it's been a really an unbelievable week. The evidence, the affidavits are pouring in not just day by day, they're actually coming in hour by hour. I was as shocked as anybody to see the State Board of Elections decide in a bipartisan 9-0 decision a couple weeks ago not to certify this race. But the evidence has been pouring in, and I think a lot more of that is going to happen over the next couple of weeks. The amazing thing in all of this is that my opponent, Mark Harris, who hired the known criminal, McCrae Dowless, that you spoke about a moment ago, hired this shady character to run his absentee ballot program, has yet to answer a single question about what he knew and when he knew it. And I think that Mark Harris owes it to the people, owes it to the people in North Carolina who had their voices, their votes stolen from them, to come clean and actually answer the questions.
Let me ask you this, though. You ran in this district. You know this district really well. I keep reading these stories. I keep hearing from people down there that there were all sorts of stories, chatter, rumors, whatever you want to call it, about Bladen County, about absentee ballots, about shenanigans that go back years that involve this fellow, McCrae Dowless. Did you know who he was during this campaign? Were you keeping an eye on this? Was this something that was on your radar?
I never met the guy. I didn't know who he was, but my opponent, Mark Harris, went out and hired him. This guy, Bladen County it's a small county. These are small towns. You know who the shady characters are. This guy is a known criminal, a known fraudster. He'd already been investigated for absentee ballot fraud. The incumbent Congressman, Robert Pittenger, said on the record that he sat down with this guy for a few minutes and decided to stay as far away from him as he could because he was so shady. I'm just curious here because I haven't, and forgive me if you've said this elsewhere, but I haven't heard you say it. As a tactical matter, as a campaign matter, I'm just genuinely curious. Were you aware that he was working for your opponent's campaign? Were you worried about it? Was this something that was on your radar just strategically? Hey, he's got Dowless. That means this could happen in Bladen. Was that something you were thinking about? We were thinking about it and worried about it. And we looked into things a little bit toward the end of the election. We kicked the tires a little bit. It's hard as a private citizen. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm a business person. I'm not a private investigator. So you can only do so much as a private citizen. And that's why I think it's so important that the North Carolina Board of Elections is conducting a full investigation right now, because these criminals need to be put in jail, and anybody that did something wrong needs to be held accountable. And Mark Harris needs to end his silence and tell the people what he knew.
All right, Dan McCready, the Democratic candidate in North Carolina's 9th District, right now has the only uncalled race right now left of the 435 for the U.S. House. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be on with you.
And by the way, we did invite Mark Harris, the Republican from this race,